What's up, guys? This is Chris here, and today we're going to be talking about compensators on handguns. Well, some compensators, some ports, some muzzle brakes, but they all basically do the same thing. And today we're going to explain maybe what the differences are, what different types of compensators there are for handguns, the reasons you might want to have them, and also some of the pros and cons. Now, I have a few different examples of comps on guns out here to show you, and we'll kind of show you the different types, and we'll leave it up to you whether you think you want one or not, because there's no right answer on whether you should have a comp or not. It really is dependent on the person and the situation. Now, before we get into the video, I do want to mention my Patreon supporters. Thank you guys very much. It's because of you guys we have guns and cool shit and awesome stuff on the channel. And if you guys want to support the channel, that's the best way to do it. Just go down to the link in the description below. Also on that description is a link to a local shelter named Iowa. It's the YSS. Those kids could really use your help, so please go down there and donate to those kids. I also know there's a tractor behind me. He won't be there forever, so if you can hear that, I'm sorry. Now, first gun I'm going to show off is going to be my carry gun. This is actually my carry gun right here, or one of the two. I have a pair of these, and both of them are compensated. So this is a Smith & Wesson Shield Plus Performance Center, and it is the slightly more expensive version of the Shield Plus. It's a striker-fired polymer frame pistol with a 3-inch barrel, a 10-round capacity, but most importantly, V-ports in the top there. There's two twin ports in the top, kind of back a little bit from the muzzle, and this is a very interesting and very effective way to compensate a gun. I've had this on several different guns, small to large. My Atlas Aries, a gun I helped design, has these twin ports, and these are two of my personal favorites. So what I like about these is that they compensate the gun. And what I mean by compensator versus brake is compensators generally compensate for muzzle flip. So these port right out the top, so the spent gases, when I fire the round, shoot out the top, and it helps push my gun a little bit back on target and helps relieve a little bit of the muzzle flip that you feel with the gun. Now, I'm not a scientist, and you can tell that by listening to the way I speak. However, I have shot a lot of guns, and I do know the minute differences in how the guns feel with or without the comp, because I also have versions of this gun without the comp. And I can tell you the comp on this particular very small, very light gun does help an awful lot. That's one type of comp. The second type we have on the table is going to be the SIG version. And this is sort of one of the guns that made compensators very popular on handguns. SIG figured out that instead of compensating the barrel itself, they'll just compensate the slide. This is a 4-inch slide with a 12-round capacity. This is a SIG Spectre Comp XL. And this gun here, as you can see, doesn't have any cuts in the barrel whatsoever. The barrel stops just before the compensator that's cut into the slide. And there are some benefits to that as well, which we'll talk about here in a second. We also have the brand new Canik MC9 Prime. Well, for what it's designed for, I mean, that was pretty legit. Probably the biggest gun released this year. Not too surprising for me, because this is very affordable and it has a lot of gun for the money. It is a, I think, like 3.6-inch striker-fired polymer frame pistol. Great trigger, very lightweight as well. And on these lightweight guns, compensators do matter a lot. This one's actually a triple comp, which leads to some interesting side effects, which again we'll go to here in a second. Then we have a M&P Spec Series. This is an aluminum frame, and it has a screw-on compensator slash brake. Compensator shoots gases out the top, big single port comp. Gases shoot out the side, help relieve a lot of that recoil, and then also keep the gun flat. When the gas shoots out brakes, generally they either hit baffles or they're aimed rearward, so that helps pull the gun away a little bit, and the compensator is aimed up, so that helps push the gun down, because when you fire the gun it wants to go up and back, so obviously the best way to mitigate that would be to push it down and forward. Now, the final example we have for a comp here is this big mother here, and that is the Nighthawk Sandhawk. Glock. This is a 5-inch 2011 pistol, one of the absolute fastest handguns on earth, and this is one of the most effective brakes on the planet as well. A very simple but extremely effective single port comp with a sight block on the end of the gun. So pretty much not only you get this huge comp on the end of the gun that helps keep the muzzle flat, but you have a weight out here on the front as well to help keep that gun down as well. Very, very flat shooting, also because it is a very hefty handgun by comparison to the rest of these. So there's a few examples of the different types. Now, pros and cons of the first one here, the V-port system. One of my personal favorites, maybe my favorite version. Oh, it does have some cons. So first off, the pros is it keeps the gun extremely flat, and on small guns like this, you actually are gonna need a lot of recoil control because the smaller, the lighter the gun, the more recoil that you're going to feel. The more recoil that the gun has, the more likely you are to flinch when you're shooting the gun and cause accuracy issues. So it's not just about speed, it's actually about accuracy and ease of use. If the gun has less recoil, you're gonna wanna shoot it more. If you shoot it more, you're gonna be better with the gun. If you're better with the gun, you're gonna shoot the thing better. So even though you have reduced recoil, you also get a little bit of increased accuracy, especially on these smaller guns. Now, the con of the V-port system, although it's very effective at reducing recoil, is it does get the gun dirtier. All comps get the gun dirtier, but some more than others. And this V-port system in the middle here gets this gun really dirty. And since this is my carry gun, I do have to clean this more than I do my non-ported versions, but I feel the pro of less recoil outweighs the con of it being dirty because Smith & Wesson's run extremely well even when dirty. This is not an old school 1960s, 1911. I mean, this thing will run if you pour Cheerios into it.
Don't try that at home, kids.
Or do. Now, another con of this system is even though it's very lightweight because it doesn't add any weight out on the front, it's not as effective as a sight block system like this. And of course, you wouldn't want that on a carry gun because it adds bulk and it adds weight. And we're trying to keep this system lightweight while still reducing the recoil. Now, compared to something like this where you have a slide cut compensator, the V-port system on the Smith & Wesson works better than this. It reduces recoil more than this, and the recoil on the Smith & Wesson is less than on this. The upside to the compensator on the SIG is that this doesn't make your gun nearly as dirty because there's not cuts in the barrel itself. Now, the second con that the Smith & Wesson has with the V-port system is that it actually drops the feet per second of your velocity of your round. Let's say your round is nearing the threshold of knot expansion because it's already in a 3-inch barrel, and then you add the port system, you actually might make your hollow points not expand by adding a compensator to your gun, which is probably not a wonderful thing. Now, some ammo will do that and some ammo won't. Different ammos are more dependent on velocity for expansion. So you're just gonna have to find yourself an ammunition that expands under low velocities if you plan on running a very short barrel with a compensator, because the more barrel you have, the more velocity you have generally till you hit about 9 or 10 inches. That's a lot. And 3-inch barrel has very minimal velocity. Usually when they test self-defense ammunition, they usually test it with 4 and 5-inch barrels, and that's usually those pretty little pedals that you see on the cover of magazines and the little description on the side of the box. That's almost always with a 5-inch handgun. So keep in mind, if you're running a 3-inch handgun with a compensator, you're gonna have very low velocity and you're gonna have to be a little more picky about your carry ammo. Also, it's gonna do a little bit less damage because it is moving a little bit slower. Now, is 30, 40 feet per second gonna matter? Not to me, but maybe to you. Now, the SIG system actually reduces the feet per second a little bit as well, but to my knowledge, not quite as much, but I have never actually tested that. I've just heard that on the internet, so take that with a grain of salt. But I would say that between these two, this compensator version is more effective, and this one's a little less dirty. Now, getting into the prime here, this system is actually really interesting because I find this comp less effective than these two. When I shoot this compensator, even though it's got the 3 ports, I feel less recoil reduction and actually more noise. That's another con that I wanted to mention with compensators, especially with short guns. Shorter guns are always going to be louder because if you run a 3-inch barrel as opposed to 5, there's more unburnt powder in the 3-inch barrel that escapes, the gases escape and they light on fire in front of your face, and it's just going to be a little louder than it would be in a 4-inch gun or a 5-inch gun. Now, this triple compensator here is super loud. I love this gun, don't get me wrong, but the biggest con of this firearm is how loud it is by comparison to its non-comp counterpart, the LS. And I feel like you don't really notice how loud these are till you shoot one next to one that's not. Now, I actually prefer the V port or even the SIG port over this. Canik has a really good single port comp on the TTI Combat, but on this one, this triple port is not for me. Sometimes more is not better. Now, some of the issues with a gun like this, as you can see, this is slightly twisted, and this is actually why I picked this as an option. This is actually a thread-on compensator. So this is a threaded barrel, don't tell California, underneath there. And then on top of that, we just screw a compensator on. So you don't have anything cut into the barrel, and you don't have anything cut into the slide. It is just a regular threaded barrel, and then you screw comps on, and that is what got popular first with like the Roland special Glocks and things like that. But there's a lot of cons to that for the pro of having very low recoil. The first con is that they have a tendency to spin, and they usually have set screws. This has 2 set screws on either side, but the problem with that is they fall out or they rattle out with vibration, and guns are fibrous? I don't know what word I'm looking for there.
Vibrating?
Vibrating? They vibrate a lot when you shoot them because there's a lot of recoil on the slide. So set screws have a tendency to fall out, and people will say, well, use Loctite. The problem with compensators is that they get very hot, and Loctite has a tendency to melt even if you use the red stuff. So you have to continue to make sure these stay tight over time, sort of like optic screws. I would witness them and make sure if this is the version you're using. The pro to a spin-on comp is that you don't have to get it cut. You can buy a threaded barrel and buy the comp and put it on, or if you have a threaded barrel, you can just screw it on, and you can also take it off. So you can have a non-comp version or a comp version using the same barrel, which is pretty nice. Also, you can change that compensator out for a suppressor as well if you're feeling all Metal Gear Solid-y. Now, another con of the screw-on compensator, besides spinning around a lot, is that they have more of a tendency, in my opinion, to cause malfunctions than the other versions. And the reason for that is because they're often on guns where they weren't designed to. If somebody gives you just a threaded barrel with a thread protector on it, and you throw a comp on that, there's a pretty good shot that you're gonna make that gun malfunction because the recoil spring in that gun is designed for just the threaded barrel, not for the compensator. And the compensator does slow the velocity. Even these slow the velocity on the gun, and it reduces the velocity of the slide, which then reduces your reliability. So you usually have to use a lighter recoil spring with screw-on comps because you are introducing something to the gun that it didn't have before. Now, something like this Smith & Wesson here, this screw-on comp came with the gun, so the recoil spring was perfect out of the box. But remember, if you just buy a threaded barrel and you put a comp on it, you need a recoil spring too, usually, for the most part, unless you're using very hot ammo. Now, the sight block comp, as we talked about here a second, is usually the way they go for competition guns. And the reason for that is because this adds a lot of weight, it adds a lot of recoil control, but you usually don't take it off. Now, you can take this off for cleaning, things like that, but you're not gonna run this gun without this big sight block on it. If you can see, the slide mates up perfect to it, and it's sort of a part of the gun. Sort of like a Staccato XC or an Apache or something like that. Now, the pros to it is the best recoil reduction and arguably the most reliability because these are precision guns machined perfectly for them, and usually they're very reliable. The cons is it does add weight, but in a gun like this, you actually don't need to worry about it. It's actually a pro, not a con. So if you're looking at comps for maybe a go fast gun, this is a really good option, whereas if you're looking for just a concealed carry gun or something like that, the V ports or the SIG option are probably going to be the best there. Overall size to weight versus recoil reduction ratio. So let me break down what we have so far. Comps allow you a lot of recoil control, and that gives you a lot of things. First off, it gives you more longevity when you're shooting. You're going to shoot a little bit longer per day. You might want to shoot the gun more, so you're going to end up shooting overall, which does in fact increase your skill level. On top of that, since it does reduce the recoil, it also increases your split times and makes you shoot faster just in general. But on top of the fact that you're going to train more, you're going to be a better shooter probably with a comp overall, especially with small handguns. And I know people say you don't need a compensator on 9 doesn't recoil. Well, those guys also don't usually shoot. If you shoot 500 rounds in a day of a SIG P365, you're going to know you shot 500 rounds a day from the SIG P365.
Unpleasant. Oh, it's beating my hand. Oh, ugh.
And since we all really carry stuff like this, and all the gun tubers who say they carry a Glock 34 or a SIG P226X5 Legion, I meet a lot of those guys. And those guys usually don't even have a gun, let alone have that big ass gun. Most people carry guns like this, or they carry guns like this. And if you carry a small gun like this, you better damn well train with it because they're difficult to shoot, and compensators just simply help out with that. Now, the cons are a lot. First off, we have the dirty in the gun. It can dirty the gun, and it can cause malfunctions you wouldn't have otherwise, so you have to be a a little more on top of cleaning than you normally would, or just buy a Smith or a Glock, and you don't really have to worry about it either way. The second thing that it does is that tendency to add complexity, including malfunctions. So the screw-on comps can spin off and they can cause problems. The compensators themselves can lower the velocity enough to where you actually don't have reliability with some rounds. So you are definitely affecting a system if you get the gun comp. If you buy a gun already comp, you shouldn't have those issues. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is blast. That was sort of the main thing that the old guys back in the day didn't like compensators for, because if you shot a gun inside, it's gonna blow the doors off the ceiling and it's gonna make your situational awareness go to hell. And the reality is I've done retention shooting with this gun right here. This is a 3-inch compensated gun, and it does clear your sinuses sometimes, but it will definitely get the job done. And in a serious situation, you will not notice that. Another con of compensators is night blindness. A lot of people say that. The flash of the compensator is gonna blind you at night and you're not gonna be able to see. I've done a lot of shooting at night, and I'm just me. I'm just my individual self, and my friends, and me or my friends have never had any issues shooting compensated guns at night. I don't know, it looks pretty good to me. There we go. Do you get a little bit more muzzle flash? Yes, you do, but not much more, and it's not really noticeable to the shooter, especially while you were shooting. Will that give away your position? Well, I don't know. It depends on what situation you're in. If you're in a military or law enforcement situation, that might be a bad thing, but honestly, I've never concerned myself too much with giving away my position in a home defense or a concealed carry situation, since honestly, I can't think of a situation where I'm just gonna be hiding in the attic and I'm gonna jump down and ninja sword somebody. I'm probably gonna say, get the f out of my house before I shoot in the first place. Get out of my house, nutsack! And that'll give away my position more than the compensator. Also, I'm giant and red, so it's not easy for me to hide. So in conclusion, this is why I generally don't write videos without bullet points, because this video is all over the place and I didn't write anything for this at all. It's just me rambling at the camera. And also, compensators give you low recoil at the cost of some flash, some blast, a little bit dirty in your gun, and possibly causing malfunctions and or causing unreliable expansion with your ammunition. All of those cons can be mitigated by technique and knowing your gun. So I would say if you want to comp, just know what you're getting into. It's sort of like going home with a girl who went to Catholic school. It's gonna be fun, but it's quite a ride. If you like this video, please like and subscribe. Please support our Oklahoma shelters, and remember to recycle. I'll check you later.